I'm not sure what to think exactly. I think I would need this poem and sit by the river and reflect. Really, it's beautiful.
My self-portrait contemplates a boy, lost and found in every day, doing and undoing, who is young enough for the sea where an old man still dreams. Its artistry understands the world in full happiness and misery, whose good and evil show everyone's true colors shown in a gallery. Unlike Dorian, I shall fade in, perfect black and white, so perfectly that like Nero, I shall forever remember to be a masterpiece.
A very transparent poem that really lets you, or really exposes your true feelings about your, I don't know, wants and hopes and yourself really, and what you want for now and for the future.
It is contemplating both sides of the story. It is drawing in references from classics, yet it's still a personal depiction of the reality. It is introspective, yet not with arrogance. It is quite genuine, because you're drawing not conclusions, you're analyzing without judging, and that's a true art form.
My self-portrait contemplates a boy, lost and found in everyday doing and undoing, who is young enough for the sea where an old man still dreams. Its artistry understands the world in full happiness and misery, whose good and evil show everyone's true colors shown in a gallery. Unlike Dorian, I shall fade in perfect black and white so perfectly that, like Nero, I shall forever remember to be a masterpiece.
Somebody who continues to dream, even though the routines of the everyday life kind of lifts you up and brings you down. You can get inspired by things you're seeing, and you also get, deeply depressed by the lack of, dreams that you find around you. But despite everything, you still have hope. There's always hope, no matter how old you are, no matter the situation you're in, there's still hope for you to create or to be the creation that you always wanted to be.
No, it's all really interesting. It's thought-provoking. The reference to Dorian and Nero, it's all...
I think like Dorian, a lot of us try to hold on to things that we shouldn't be holding on to, in this willingness to let go of ourselves and kind of fade into non-existence, but still remembering that we are a masterpiece, and that dichotomy was very cool. And I think with this poem, kind of realizing that you can be a masterpiece without necessarily holding on to things that can't really be held onto. Like, life is very ephemeral, it can disappear in your hands. So really trying to understand that ourselves as the portraits, instead of trying to externalize that into some physical aspect.
The middle part where he talks about its artistry, and I think what that means is the artistry of his self-portrait seems to be like an abstract representation of the human condition. The meaning or the idea that all of us are kind of contained in each other. So the self-portrait is like a depiction of all of us. Its artistry understands the world, whose good and evil show everyone's true colors in a shown gallery. I think that is a holistic... If you would define the universe and life in general in one sentence, I think this would be it. Well done, Nero.
Because in the worst time or in the best time of your life, you show your true color. And this is what I like the most. And I think I will remember this when I go home.
My self-portrait contemplates a boy, lost and found in every day, doing and undoing, who is young enough for the sea where an old man still dreams. Its artistry understands the world in full happiness and misery, whose good and evil show everyone's true colours shown in a gallery. Unlike Dorian, I shall fade in perfect black and white, so perfectly that, like Nero, I shall forever remember to be a masterpiece.
Where you can see yourself in the future, and in the best place you will be still an old man who has dreams and who is able to dream. Because I think this can get quickly drawn away through life, that you don't have any more dreams, you just follow your simple routine. And so, yeah, I can relate deeply to that I still want to have dreams in the future, and that I'm still able to have imagination.
That I kind of find myself in it. I feel like a young man, but still also like an old man in the sea. It's strange because an old man who dreams in the sea, it's like alone there, staying with his dreams. And I'm still young, but I have dreams. But I feel like in a sea, lost in my world.
The poet has probably gone through their own experience of pain, and probably has found something meaningful that they're trying to express. There is still like a lot of struggle, but there's also hope from realizing how young the person is and the expansiveness of, as they say, the sea where an old man still dreams. So there's still like signs of hope, but it comes, I think, from experiences, personal experiences, in traumas or pains that make the poet feel that way.
I imagine the young version of you getting into the sea, being still young enough to hope and dream, and I imagine the old version of you sat maybe a little bit back on a beach house somewhere watching his younger self. But the question is, what happens in between that? Did you fulfill what you dreamed, what you hoped? Maybe you did.
Most people only want to have the happiness part in life and always say, everything is happy, we go and likes and views and Instagram and everything is just marketing is selling us happiness. But what most people don't understand is the misery part, because without the lows there are no highs, and so we kind of have to cherish the misery as well as the happy parts, and to have a good balance between
the happy side, the sad side. Like life always has every opposite. Like it's like a vacillation of one part and another part. The guy Nero here does not want to blend into, does not want to give life the benefit of having to choose a side. He just wants to live life and make a dent in the world in his own possible way.
You always try to balance things out and probably see them from a different perspective. The world is so big that we can do so much more, and we shouldn't focus just on one thing like black and white, and there are still things in between everything.
Yeah, like black and white, like only two options, you know? Like maybe it could be a wider range of grays.
Because he wants to fade in perfect black and white. He wants maybe some clearness in his life.
But I would disagree on fading to one or the other side. Don't go to black or to white. Stay in your gray area. I shall forever remember to be a masterpiece. That's probably a little bit harsh on the step, because you set yourself so high that you are a masterpiece, that you are this unique snowflake. I think if you go with this mindset through life, it can get harsh sometimes, because things can crush you down and then you feel like, I'm the masterpiece, I should be special. In the end, you're not. And I think if you realize that, it also liberates you.
My understanding is probably a bit more simple. It's almost like the tighter you try to hold on to things and the tighter you try to hold on to your current existence, the more likely it is for it to kind of slip away. You gotta move with the currents, even though it hurts sometimes. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what the writer was going for, but that's how I understand it. You move with the currents, and it's like a pebble in a creek. You move with the currents, and at the end of the day, you're beautiful in your own way, even if it's not the image that you wanted it to be.
Remember to be a masterpiece? Yes, that's perfect. That should be a life motto, something you write down above your bed and read it every day.
Because it reminds yourself of the old glory that you truly are as the human you are.
Because it's something that everybody has to remember, to be a masterpiece. Because everybody could be a masterpiece, they just have to wanted it. So I would like to choose to be a masterpiece for my own good.
Well, I believe we're all masterpieces, and we become the best masterpieces of ourselves when we decide to tap into ourselves, when we decide to show the world our true colors, as you say. And you're bringing up being young and old and the good and evil, all the polar opposites. You're creating this all-inclusive divination.
Remembering to be a masterpiece, I think the final words there are maybe quite, what's the word, ambitious, that you really see future for yourself and you want to be remembered, you know, with these greats maybe in time. Perhaps somebody would see your name in a self-portrait in some years to come.
My self-portrait contemplates a boy, lost and found in everyday doing and undoing, who is young enough for the sea where an old man still dreams.
Its artistry understands the world in full happiness and misery, whose good and evil shows everyone's true colors shown in a gallery.
Unlike Dorian, I shall fade in,
Perfect black and white so perfectly,
that like Nero, I shall forever remember to be a masterpiece.
If I would have to choose one artist, it would be probably Jean-Michel Basquiat to paint me.
Picasso. Van Gogh maybe.
I think Banksy were good. Dali, because I really liked his surreal works. And life can also be sometimes surreal as well.
I think it's Kirchner.
Andy Warhol. An artist would see me differently than I see myself, and maybe he sees things that I don't see about myself.
I would definitely choose to use my own colors and expression to create my own self-portrait, because that's the most personal you can get.
Why I chose to paint my own portrait? Because I make my own decisions.
I think I understand myself best, so I would know how to best depict myself.
I would rather paint my own. My future's in my own hands, I think, in that way.
Something abstract. People don't have a direct understanding of what is going on in my life. So if I would want to paint a portrait of myself, it would be for people to guess, who is this guy?
I saw a tattoo once. My friend has a tattoo of a girl with her head literally in the clouds, and I think that's really what I'm like, and that's my self-portrait, even though sometimes it really hurts to always have your head in the clouds. So I can't really think of an artist who would paint me. Maybe I'd paint myself.
It's quite surrealistic.
It looks like to me, again, it takes me back to the sea, because I imagine a seashore there, perhaps. As you can see, I don't know, it just brings me back to the idea of sea and form and something becoming, maybe not quite fully formed yet, but the outlines are there and we can see it's starting to take shape.
Not as many people would perhaps draw themselves, I guess. It's an interpretation, it's a question of depth and darkness and light, and I like it quite a lot because you can interpret it in your own way.
You are seeking for approval, maybe that's why you mentioned these great people in your poems, and you compare yourself to, whether it's your own approval, whether it's approval of family, whether it's approval of peers, I don't know, but I think you're maybe hunting for that, searching for that, and maybe you found it in this poem. Quite an introvert, maybe quite contemplative.
The poet is somebody who dreams a lot. There's this like feeling inside you to like create and be entity that the world sometimes doesn't understand, and it's like a fire, and you just can't get rid of it. You know, someone who's lost and found in everyday doing and undoing, inspired by different things, you know, wants to be this perfect portrait, but understands that you sometimes got to move with the current in order to be what you really want to be.
Maybe true personality in yourself, like the young, the old, the black and the white, the good and the evil. There's a fight in that.
I imagine that you know yourself enough to express yourself in words. You are inspired, yet you're creating your own depiction of yourself, which is what a true artist should always be doing.
You feel forever young. You're not getting older. Your spirit is always young.
I like the spirit of the young man.
Something philosophical, like a philosopher is inside of you. Who is trying to understand also himself, who is seeing the world and is like, okay, wow, the world is so big, but what am I next to the world, or if I compare myself, where am I in this world?
Like, it took a lot of effort for someone to actually write something out of one's particular like original language. Now, apparently you are not an Englishman, and you going outside the box to actually do something, it takes a lot of courage, and it's really daunting. I really like that. I think you are one of those guys that just do what he or she wants to do without conforming to what the world already did for him or her.